Hello, and you're very welcome to the JMac podcast. I'm John Man. Of course, the podcast brought to you by Orgarich.com and Atak.ie. Use promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on Orgarich.com. I get the best skills, comes scripting on Atak.ie. Be attack minded. And today I'm joined by Clare footballer Eoin Cleary to talk about Clare's season, the current state of affairs in the GAA, and all a bit of crack and a bit of banter for the next while. So we're really looking forward to chatting to Owen today. How are you keeping on?
Good now, John. All's good now, thanks.
Happy days, my man. Happy days. I was just talking off air to you. You have a Cavan man playing for your club in Clare there, so God help you.
As you said, there's Kevin connections everywhere, so we found one eventually.
Oh Lord, Jed. I wouldn't say. Have you found it hard to get a few points out of him, or is the hands stone to the pocket? Or
Yeah, you you described Joe well now. He'd enjoy that.
Oh, brilliant stuff. And it turns out I'm a distant relation of him as well, so geez, it makes it even more sweeter. But I'm not as bad as him if he's tight. Don't worry, don't worry. Brilliant stuff, man. You're in good form. So no, I'm delighted to have you on the show. How's things? How are you keeping anyway? All good?
Yeah, good now, John. Yeah, I suppose just having a bit of downtime after the long county season and just doing a review now for the year as a group, going through what went well and what we need to improve on and getting that back into management. So enjoying the club season is about to start as well. So always great to get back to the club and get back to the lads you grew up with and probably your closest friends. So yeah, enjoying that as well now.
Brilliant stuff. Club's always good to go back on, and obviously we're after coming away from a very exciting weekend of GAA action. You obviously had the two All Ireland semi-finals in football. Excuse me, and you had the Total Cup final on Saturday as well. Obviously, Cavan Westmeath, you had Derry against Galway, and you had Kerry against Dublin on Sunday. So what was your take, firstly, maybe on the Total Cup final, obviously between Westmeath and Cavan? Westmeath coming out winners. In fairness, unfortunately, from my end of things, they were the better team. But what was your thoughts on the Total final?
Yeah, a super game, John. I thought great start to the first year of the competition. They really advertised it well. The holiday for the winning team, the potential of all stars. They promoted it well, like the semi-finals in Croke Park, and then the final itself was a cracker. I think the two best teams were there. They put on a great spectacle. You got to see some guys who, well, most of us in the county circles would be aware of, but maybe lads in other counties wouldn't be aware of, the likes of Ronan Wallace, Paddy Lynch on the Cavan side. Super players, and great to see them playing Croke Park on the biggest stage. And I think it's a great start for the Tatland Cup. And I suppose the first year people were unsure of how it would go, but I think it went very well. And a few tweaks now to the second year of it, and I think it's going to be the way forward for the future.
Absolutely. Obviously, if you got a chance to watch the game, were you impressed with Westmeath? Obviously, it's a really good performance, and obviously being at the game, I just thought they moved ridiculously well. I think their kick out was a 23 kickouts one, which is absolutely scary good. It kind of makes you think what we were at, and every time they went forward, their shooting efficiency was absolutely brilliant as well. Owen, so a great performance.
Definitely, I'd agree fully with that, John. I thought Ron O'Toole was outstanding centre forward. Not only did he kick a few great scores, his link play was outstanding. He set up the goal. It was a beautiful move. Luke Loughlin got a nice hand to it, and Larkin Dolan finished it well. But yeah, overall, I'd agree. Westmeath played similarly to the way they played in the semi-final, looked to move the ball quickly through the hand, and then once they got past halfway, they tried to find Heslin, and if he wasn't inside himself, they'd find him out around the middle, and he'd look to find the boys inside. And I thought Cavan dealt with it relatively well in the first half. Ron Tool kicked some great scores from distance, but I thought they didn't give up many goal chances. But I suppose the sending off was a big moment in the game, and they'll be disappointed with that looking back on it. Thought they looked comfortable enough around that stage, and I suppose losing a player as influential as Thomas Galligan to any team he's involved in is a huge loss, because he's an outstanding footballer. And listen, they will be disappointed, but overall getting out of Division 4 and also getting to Tatland Cup final, like, they are a quality side. They won't fear anyone they'll meet in Division 3, and they look at it as a springboard next year to get into the All Ireland series, and they won't fear anyone in that either. Their performance in Donegal this year, they could have very easily turned them over. And listen, I think overall Kevin will be pleased with their year. Disappointed with Sunday, of course, but when they reflect the year as a whole, they will be quite happy, I'd imagine.
Absolutely, yeah. Obviously, to get the win on Saturday would have been great, but that's unfortunately life doesn't always work like that. And obviously, from the Westmeath end of things, Owen, it was Rowan O'Toole just had a fantastic game. Sam McCartan, Luke Loughlin, John Hilson, basically all the forward line were brilliant, and obviously Ronan Wallace, Ray Cannellan, just great game. So like it was a real team performance.
Oh, it was, and I suppose every one of their players had some sort of huge impact in the game. Even Kevin Maguire, their captain, made an outstanding block, finishing up. Which it's a goal for Kevin there. Kevin have the momentum going into the final 5 minutes, and it's a draw game. So, yeah, Westmeath are a very strong outfit, a lot of good footballers, and they've developed a style now which they look to be comfortable with. They're in the Ireland series next year. I suppose with Dublin and Leinster, they've been so strong over the past few years, so maybe Westmeath haven't been able to showcase how good they are, but they're a young side. They have the experience of Heslin, Ray Cannellan, and listen, bringing on a player like Kieran Martin with 10 to go, the legs are tired, and he just put the head down. And in fairness, no one would have stopped him with the pace he was going at. So they have a lot of quality in that side, and I imagine that again, similar to Cavan, but more so with the results on they'll be very pleased with their year as a whole.
Ronan O'Toole obviously get man of the match as well. Owen, like he just had a great game. I think everything he touched turned to goal, and probably took a lot of the work away from John Heslin. So he had a great game, and rightly so, man of the match.
Yeah, definitely. I think Heslin had a great score off his left, but was tightly marked by Padraig Fortner throughout the game, and I got a lot of close attention from the Cavan back, so it probably freed up O'Toole a bit. And in fairness to him, he took full advantage. I think he had 6 or 7 shots, maybe 6 scores. His movement was excellent and set up the goal. So well deserving a man of the match, and a quality player is Ron O'Toole.
Absolutely, yeah. And I suppose it's funny coming away from the game. Like, and I know we were kind of saying if the Leinster competition, again, Dublin really do look like they're kind of coming back to the pack, and I suppose long may it continue definitely from a Leinster end of things, and obviously Kildare could definitely be got it as well. So I really think like if I was a Westmeath supporter, like coming away from Saturday against a fairly strong Cavan team, Westmeath should have plenty of confidence.
Yeah, for sure, John. As we were saying there, the quality player they have, they shouldn't fear anyone next year in Leinster. And I suppose this is the idea of the Tatland Cup, that it gives you that confidence that you can compete with teams like Cavan won Ulster 2 years ago. So that's the caliber of player they have available to them. So that's the idea of the Tatland Cup. And listen, I'm sure any team Westmeath meet in the All Ireland series next year, they won't fear, especially if they can hold on to some of their key players. I think their age bracket is quite good overall. I think James Dolan is probably their oldest player, but overall they have quite a young team. So they're also missing Tommy McDaniels, who's a quality forward through injury. And if they get a few more guys back, this will only strengthen the panel. But Jack Coney seems to be a quality manager as well. So they're building nicely. And if they retain a lot of the guys and management they have this year, they'll be quite confident next year going into Division 3 and the Leinster Championship.
No, I think the sky can definitely be the limit for them. I think just they need to believe in that and believe in themselves. And I suppose watching on from the game, maybe what impressed you most, maybe from the Westmeath end of things, and maybe even Cavan to a degree. Like, did you like the way the game was supposed to free flowing?
Yeah, it was, and I liked the way a lot of guys weren't afraid to shoot. I mean, Paddy Lynch took a shot there. I think it was on the far side of the
Yeah, the
Devon end. It
corner.
was
Yeah.
unbelievable score, and it's nice there. The guy, I suppose, with the way the current game is coached, some guys are afraid to shoot outside the D. But if you're a player who practices that shot and that angle and consistently does it, so then managers should trust you to take that shot. And the likes of Sam McCartan, the likes of Paddy Lynch took on those shots the last day. John Heslin off his left foot, and it was great to see, because if we're playing into a game, they're the type of scores, they're the type of shots you want to see go over the bar. So it's good to see that these guys weren't afraid to have a cut. With Westmeath, yeah, just the pace they were moving at, even Ronan Wallace there when he took off, it was very hard catch him. He was unlucky not to get a few more balls when he came off the shoulder when he was running off the Cavan defence. I think at times guys probably took the wrong option, but if he gets the ball running that goal, he's very, very dangerous, because a guy coming off the shoulder at that pace, you're going to have to foul him, or I suppose he will create an overlap. So yeah, it was just the quality of pace they brought from the back. As you said about their kickouts as well, retaining that amount of kickouts, I didn't realise it was that. That's an unbelievable step, really. And in fairness to Jason Daly, he got some away just at the edge of the D as well, when the pressure was on. So yeah, it was very impressive to do that in that and a high pressure game like that. So yeah, very impressive overall. But I was impressed with Cavan. I'd say for 40, 50 minutes. I was very impressed with him against Donegal this year, but I suppose they'll be disappointed that they didn't get to showcase the level they've been playing at in a lot of games this year. They've shown in the Donegal game the level they can reach, and I suppose like that they look back on different aspects of their performance that they probably like to have reached a higher level. But listen, the quality player they'll come back next year, and I'm sure they'll have a good cut off Division 3, and if they win that, then they're in that Ireland series, so they're back where they want to be.
Absolutely, yeah. And I suppose one thing I did notice, obviously, from the Cavan end of things, and you're kind of saying about lads being coached and maybe taking chances, and obviously, as you were rightly saying, maybe taking a cut. But I think I was saying in my own the podcast yesterday, when I was reviewing the game, I did notice one of our maybe wing forwards kind of going forward with the ball and then having to go back and then kick it sideways. And obviously, you're an out and out forward, you love getting it over the black spot. But I suppose maybe your thoughts on that, when maybe you want to kind of keep pushing the scoreboard, keep going ahead, and just that lateral pass, and especially when Cavan had the forwards to really cause Westmeath a lot more problems.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, when you have momentum and you are coming forward the ball, when you see someone turn back and look for a wing back just to slow the play down, unless the defence is set up, then I suppose it's fair game. But if there's a man inside like Paddy Lynch and the opportunity is there to get the ball into him early, I suppose you've got to keep your head up. You've got to try and find him at the first chance you get, because he's going to turn, he's going to get a shot on goal, and there's a good chance he's going to score with the form he's in this year. So yeah, I suppose as an inside forward, it can be frustrating at times. You're hoping that the guys out the field choose the right option. If they are going to slow it down, that the defence is set up quickly and that the passing side isn't on. But I suppose, listen, as I said, if a qualifier like Paddy Lynch is inside, you want to give the ball to him early. If McKernan creeps inside and he's one-on-one, you want to kick it into him early. So I suppose that you're just trying to create opportunities like that all the time, create those one-on-one opportunities. And if they're on, you've got to find the guy inside in, because they don't come around too often with defences being protected by two wing forwards coming back, a sweeper, etc. So when the opportunity arises, you've got to take it.
You had to be impressed by Westmeath's shooting efficiency up front, and we touched on Rowan O'Toole, and we know John Heslin knocked the points over all day, and obviously to do Kieran Martin coming on and scoring the outrageous goal, probably one of the best goals we've seen in the last couple of weekends. So as a forward yourself, you had to be impressed.
Oh, big time, yeah. I mean, I've been watching Heslin for years, and I don't think I've actually seen a better free taker. I don't think I've rarely seen him miss a free. I think he missed one on Sunday, right? But
him and Dane Brock's up there, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's just so composed. He always kicks it in around the black spot, like it's never in doubt. And
steals a few yards,
like any good free taker as well.
At one stage, I thought he was going to bring the ball into the net.
But yeah, no, his shooting efficiency has been unbelievable the past few years. Kieran Martin, I suppose we've seen that before. I don't know, what year was it? 2015, I'll have a guess.
Against Meath, yeah.
Yeah, against Meath. So he's done that before in Croke Park, so it's not his first time. I mean, like that, when there's a high intensity game like that, 60 minutes on the clock, Kieran Martin comes on and he's running at you, it's going to be tough for any defence to keep him out. But in fairness to him, I think were they level at the time or a point down?
To do a point down, or was it level? A point down, I think it was, or were they leading at that stage? I can't even remember.
Yeah, but even so, maybe I suppose a lot of people watching on. Yeah, and he took it by the scruff of the neck. Like, to anyone watching on, it didn't look on in a month of Sundays, but he put his head down, he took his solo, got away from his man, and it was so impressive.
Got away from five of us, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose, listen, that's the other side of it too. Defensively, you'd be very disappointed with it, but from viewing it as a forward, you have to be so impressed by the composure, the way he saw the space, put the head down, showed his pace, showed his strength. So full credit to Kieran Martin as well. But yeah, I agree with you fully. Westmeath of quality forwards. Luke Loughlin has been kicking scores.
Yeah, he's been brilliant too,
yeah, he has. He really has. And Larkin Dolan obviously popped up with a great finish. That I seen some tweet. They said Ronaldo will be proud of it. So they're not too far wrong too. But yeah, quality forwards are right, but they'd want to be, I suppose, with with the level of backs Cavan have. Kieran Brady didn't start the last day.
He didn't start. He didn't play. I was very surprised with that. Yeah, and the funny thing is, we were talking about my club here. We have a semi-final this Saturday, the league semi-final, and he could be more than likely be playing in that. So I don't know what. Maybe that was a tactic for the league semi-final against us. I don't know.
Yeah, I was surprised at that myself. I just seen the things before the game, and I suppose at times you would notice changes from watching on the telly. But I was surprised that he didn't start. I've marked him a good few times. He's a quality player. He's great level of concentration. He's a good asset going forward as well.
Yeah.
I know he got the cruciate injury, but he started the semi-final as well, I think. I could be wrong with that.
But he came on in the
semi.
Yeah.
But I'm still surprised he didn't start. But again, listen,
he could have been the very man we were looking for Saturday too. I don't know what the crack was. And then we prolonged Conor Madden and Cormac Riley in the last 2 minutes as well. Like, but look at, I felt my rant about Cavan. I don't want to buy me blood pressure again. Yeah. So, look, there we go. We made our own look. Cavan and the things, obviously, Eoin. We were talking about Grove McCarran and Paddy Lynch, and obviously Martin Riley's been around the block so long at this stage. But obviously, by the sounds of you, you were very impressed by Paddy Lynch all year.
I was. Some of the scores he put over were absolutely outstanding. The Donegal game, the league final, he got 2 goals and a few points, but he was so composed in his finishes in the league final, and that was my first time seeing him. But a fiercely impressive player. I was reading his background story there, that he was hugely promising underage player, so he obviously had that talent from a young age. But listen, the sky's the limit for Paddy Lynch if he keeps up that form, because kicking big scores like that in Croke Park as well should give him huge confidence going forward. But very impressive player. And Grove McCarran, of course, played against him a number of years. Like, I don't know, is there a forward in the country that is 2 feet as comfortable outside of Clifford? Grove McCarran would definitely be up there, but fierce, impressive footballer as well, and a huge advantage to him. Great advantage for kickouts. Good man to link to play. Like, he's an outstanding footballer. So having those 2 boys in the forward zone is a huge asset to Cavan going forward. And I know Martin Riley didn't start the last day, but how influential has he been the past few years, from popping up with great scores, that outside of the left boot when it goes in, he's normally on the money. So an outstanding servant for Cavan, and I'm sure he'll be back for another year of it.
Jeez, fair play to you, because a lot of people are saying after just their final win, Martin, a lot of people would have been saying, so fair play to him for keeping on going. As I said, I suppose maybe, obviously a lot of Cavan fans probably will be watching this on, but maybe what were Cavan maybe lacking to win the game of Saturday? Because obviously you said about the great performance against Donegal, it was good enough semi-final against Sligo, but maybe what were we lacking to win that game?
I suppose I think it was tough too, the fact that Westmeath were the form team in Tatland Cup. They were scoring goals for fun. Their forward link play was outstanding, and I suppose Cavan had a tough semi-final against Sligo, where they didn't hit the form that they showed in that Donegal game. They were probably lucky to beat Sligo with the way they performed in the semi-final. Whereas if they performed like they did in the Donegal game, in the Sligo games, and Westmeath game, I'd have expected them to win. Because when they reach that high performance, again, the caliber of player they have, you give them a chance against most teams in the country. So listen, I suppose they'll be disappointed with the way they performed in the final, but I did think with 15 minutes in that they were going to see it through with the experience they had. I suppose Thomas Galligan was unlucky with the challenge. I suppose when you go in for a shoulder these days, if you don't get it on the money, refs seem to be inclined to throw off the red card, and it was unfortunate for him that Cavan lost him, because, as I said earlier, like that Ulster final win, he was the man that stood up. He caught the balls and needed to be caught. He was the driving force in midfield. And when you lose a guy like that and you go down to 14 players, when you're not playing well, you need a guy like him on the field. And he was a monumental loss to him. If he stays in the field, I'd still give Cavan a serious chance. I know they didn't perform to level Westmeath did, but Cavan are a quality side, so you'd always give them a chance. They always have good shooters on the outside. McKiernan gets a shot when they're level with 5 to go. They have the shooters available to them. So listen, of course, we know when the goal went in, Cavan had to come out a bit more. They were down to 40 men. They were chasing the game. It was always going to be very tough, and they did get that chance. And again, they were unlucky that it wasn't taken. It's taken in. It goes to extra time. They're back to 15 men and they're back in it. So all in all, while they'd be disappointed that they didn't perform to the level they're capable of, they still very well could have won the game.
Absolutely, yeah, the chances were there. I just don't think we took enough of them and maybe utilised the players that we did have. And obviously, talk after the game with maybe Mickey Graham kind of looking at his future. And I know obviously, you're blessed with Colin Collins and Clare. I think he's doing, and we'll touch on him now in a couple of minutes. But Mickey Graham, another year. But look, obviously, like, if he's busy off the field too, it's a different story.
It is, and like I suppose his record the past 2 years is unbelievable. Like winning the Leinster club title with Mullinock, didn't go on to win a Leinster or a Ulster title, sorry, with Cavan, then Division 4 title this year, and I've no doubt he's his eyes in Division 3 title, and he still has his eyes. I guarantee you, a fella with that level of success is no doubt targeting another Ulster title. And if you're a Cavan man, I'm sure you'd want Mickey Graham to stay on because he's obviously got something that not every manager has, and you'd want a guy like that in your backroom team and being the main man because he's obviously contributed a lot to Cavan football over the past 3-4 years. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. It's hard to know what any manager will do. I see John Mahon's left today, and a few of the backroom team and the tip hurlers are gone. So there is a lot of movement this time of year. From ourselves, we're hoping Cullum stays on. Unbelievable guy, unbelievable service given to Clare, and he's got us where we are today. So much the same as Mickey Graham, we hope to have the same man in charge next year.
Absolutely. And obviously, Warden Jack Cooney, Westmeath, and the backer team with John Keane, Cathal Mullen, and Desi Dolan, household names in Westmeath football. And Jack looks like he has all the lads playing for him. He looks like a fantastic manager. So yeah, he's doing a really good job there.
Yeah, he has. In fairness, even the first year he was in, I think was 2020, and I remember they beat us in Mullingar. But you knew something was brewing. He introduced a lot of new guys to the team, which weren't seen in the previous years, and he was developing a style of play that was going to take time to bed in, but it's bearing fruit now, and I'm sure with the momentum they built up from the Tatland Cup and unlucky enough not to get out of Division 3, I'd imagine he will stay on next year because he knows that I suppose it's all positive at the moment with Westmeath, and look at the homecoming the last day. Like, geez, I suppose when the Tatland Cup idea was introduced, it was unknown that if you win this, what kind of reception you'll get in your county. But I suppose in Mullingar and Kinnegad and these places from videos on Twitter, it just shows that it meant a lot to people. So, yeah, it's a competition which definitely has a serious future, and it was mighty to see celebrations like that in Westmeath.
Absolutely was, yeah, and Mullingar looked absolutely hopping. And yeah, I suppose the Tuttle Cup as a whole, obviously you are in the All Ireland series yourselves, but look, what do you feel it was a success? Because obviously, like we seen the scenes of jubilation after Westmeath just enjoyed it so much. Cavan took the competition very seriously, so all in all, I suppose it's a success though.
Definitely, John, and I even think it makes the leagues more competitive as well because the card for getting out of Division 3, being in those top two teams, you get into the All Ireland series where, of course, everyone wants to be. You get relegated from two then, and you have to win your provincials or get to the provincial finals. So it's making the leagues more competitive as well. I've seen it with ourselves this year. Like we targeted promotion at the start. We beat Offaly, drew at Cork, drew at Roscommon, and then lost to Derry and lost the next game to Galway. And promotion was, I suppose, it was gone at that stage because of the way the other teams were performing. So you didn't turn your attentions then to try and finishing outside of the top or bottom two, because you finish in the bottom two, then you have to make a provincial final to get in the All Ireland series. And because we didn't make it this year, we would have been in the Tatland Cup. So while it's obviously a great competition, you still want to be in the All Ireland series. So it's making the leagues more competitive as well. So it's adding a lot of different facets to the game. And listen, it's a positive in the game at the moment. So yeah, fair play to GAA for introducing it.
That's something that badly needed to happen too.
Agreed, yeah, agreed. Listen, there was, I suppose every man in the moon knew that there was a lot of mismatches there. Something had to be done. Like, you see the ladies' football there, they have 3 tiers, and they seem to have got a lot right with it. I see our own girls with Clare, they were lucky to win the intermediate semi-final last weekend against Laois, but I know if they won the All-Ireland in that, there'd be a huge homecoming as well, and similar to the teams in the junior as well. So they've got a lot right with that as well. So yeah, it's definitely progressing by adding these different competitions into our calendar because it was going to be stagnant. Like you were seeing a lot of guys were going abroad, they were going on J1s, and I noticed, so they were just bored of the usual competition format. But like seeing the scenes in Westmeath this year, I guarantee that if a team is in the Tatland Cup, they're all every one of the 16 teams is looking at it thinking we can win that, we can beat that team. who like they look at the two teams in the final and say, oh, we played them at a certain point of the year, and they'd fancy their chances. So any competition you enter where you have a great chance of winning, like it's going to entice players to stay around. So listen, a huge positive for the football side of it this year, and even the carrot of playing in Croke Park for the semi-finalists was a mighty idea, and they got a lot right with it. So yeah, it's a huge help to the game and getting guys to stay around, your best players in your county.
60 grand towards a holiday, not bad.
No, not at all. I'm sure the wives and the girlfriends of the Westmeath lads will be very happy with that.
If they're allowed.
That's true. If the lads are in charge of the 60 grand, it might go to their own pockets and lads only holiday kind of a thing. But yeah, unbelievable, really. No, in fairness, I'd hope the GAA stick with that going forward, because if they do, then you'll get big crowds at games. Like, what was it, the game the weekend? I know the semi-final was after it, but roughly, would you say
was 20,000, maybe 25,000, maybe? I'd say.
Yeah, but that's the thing. And if Cavan and Westmeath probably played in a qualifier game, I know ourselves with some of the attendances we played this year, you wouldn't get that. Like, you just wouldn't you wouldn't get probably a quarter of it. So, it is a huge positive. It's bringing more finance into the GAA, and if they're putting it back into the players, like team holidays like that, then that's great. Like, going forward,
Yeah, it's funny all with the jokes about Cavan. If one of the 60 where the 60 grand would go for the Cavan end of things, the stag would have been good, no doubt. We tied it under the match, which is probably a match it was given between the players. But yeah, 100%, it has been a great success, the Tall Cup. And I suppose, from an outsider looking in, would there be anything you'd change about the Tall Cup, or do you think everything's perfect with it? Nothing is perfect, of course. But
of course. Yeah, I suppose you'd like to see them have a second bite of the cherry, no more so than I suppose if you do enter the qualifiers and you lose. Yeah, I think a second bite of the cherry would be a good idea, John, because as we know, the provincials are probably outdated to be straight about it. So I think when they start this competition, similar to the All-Ireland series, if you give a team a second bite of the cherry, it's more games for players, more competitive games. Like, I know myself, like, playing a team that you haven't played before or played in a long while, it's nice. Like, it's you get a different kind of energy to it, because you're preparing yourself for a team that you haven't faced in a while. They're having the same optimism as you are, and you're going to these different grounds that you haven't visited, or going to different parts of Ireland that you might never have been. So listen, I suppose just more games, really, but the backdrop to that is that club season has to start at some stage too, and you can't be going on with the inter-county season all year. So yeah, I suppose it does need a few tweaks. Offhand, maybe a back door in the Tatnan Cup, but that's just off the top of my head. But I'm sure the guys who are in charge of it will sit down and find a few tweaks that might help things. But definitely a successful start for the Tatnan Cup.
Absolutely, obviously. Moving on to the Derry Galway game that followed after the Tall Cup final. Were you impressed with it? Obviously, we did have very high hopes going for Derry after the game, and I know obviously maybe it was a bit of a freak result against yourselves, but still, Derry have been the informed team all championship, and yeah, Rory Gallagher definitely wouldn't have been a happy man leaving Saturday.
No, I'd say not, because I think he'd have primed for a right crack at Sam Maguire. The way they performed against us, and even looking back at the game, I suppose it was reminiscent of the Donegal team of 2012, the way they moved the ball at pace, the quality of player they have, and just with how well conditioned they are. It just struck me as the same journey Donegal were on that year, that Derry might go the same way. But unfortunately for them, they didn't get over the line against Galway. I suppose it was plainly obvious to see Damien Comer really stood up. His leadership was outstanding. His man, Brendan Rodgers, probably a serious all-star contender this year, kicked 2 points in the first three scores that he got. He kicked 2 of them, and in any game your man gets 2 points, you could be looking towards the sideline. But with the type of player Comer is and the leader he is, he just stuck to his own game and focused what could improve the team, and kicking 2-2 in an All-Ireland semi-final. Outstanding leadership, and it was stuff he did off the ball as well. His work rate and the way he won frees for Shane Walsh to kick him over the bar was outstanding, and Galway were full credit for the win. But yeah, Derry will be disappointed, because with the calibre of player they have, McKay, Rogers, McKinless, Glass, McGuigan. These are seriously quality players, some of the best in the country, and they've shown that this year. Win an Ulster title, while in Division 2, obviously you're playing a number of Division 1 teams who've been playing at that pace and have that exposure to that high level of football for 7 games during the year, and for Derry to get up to that pace very early and I suppose blow those teams away was so impressive, and they did the same to us unfortunately in the quarter final, but they are a highly impressive team, and Rory Gallagher has shown himself to be an outstanding coach, so I'm sure they look as 2022 was a hugely successful year for them, and while the semi-final was disappointing, it was a great year for them, winning Ulster and getting to Northern semi-final.
I'm impressed for you with Galway as well, Owen. Like it was a great performance. Obviously, Damien Comer leading from the charge. He's an absolute horse of a man, and obviously Shane Walsh done very well as well. So look, they have a serious chance in the final. I really do believe.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like the quality forward they have, Comer, Walsh, Finnerty, 3 serious scoring forwards there. You've Matthew Tierney, McDade, Conroy all picking up scores from midfield as well. And you've a few flooding forward, Malloy, John Daly last, they kicked an absolute boomer when they were 3-1 down, just give them a bit of breathing space to get back into the game. Serious leadership from those guys. So the quality player they have, you'll always give them a chance. These guys have won All Ireland before at 21s level, and some of them have played in an All Ireland final at colleges level with St. Charlotte's. They played Caelan Mooney's school a number of years ago, Walsh and Co. So these guys are used to playing in Croke Park. They're used to playing in the big day, and I'm sure they'll be looking forward to it with the amount of momentum they've built up. I mean, they've beaten Roscommon, Mayo. Who else did they beat? They beat Leach from Armagh and Derry the last day. So they've gone a hard route and they've come through it unscathed. So obviously, the Armagh game was an absolute epic encounter, and they managed to get over the line, but they were 6 points up with a few minutes left. So they will be disappointed with that, but they played outstanding football this year. And you definitely give them every chance in the final.
Absolutely. I suppose obviously we impressed maybe like the first half probably wasn't a game for the ages. Obviously I think I left after the Cavan game, so going down the road I was probably happy with my day's work. Obviously missing the first half, but the sounds on the radio and obviously watching back on the game wasn't great. Open up a bit in the second half, but look, it's an All-Ireland semi-final at the end of the day. Owen, were you surprised at some of Derry's play?
I think they'll be disappointed by some of the scoring chances they had. Like I know people in the outside are saying outside of their group are giving out with the way they set up and the way they play, but I think they would have put more scores on the board with the scoring chances they got. They got the first scoring chance of the game. Conor Glass's point, I suppose, is still being disputed and will be disputed for a number of months over the Hawkeye controversy. They had a few other good chances where they didn't take. So in that first half, and Derry, when they get a few points ahead of you, they're so hard to break down. It's when they come out then, I suppose, with the way they set up, when Comer got the goal, it was going to be difficult for them to claw back that 6-point deficit. But if those scores go over in the first half, you'd give them a very good chance of getting over the line, because the quality player they have, how well conditioned they are. I do think that they were unlucky with the scoring chances they took. The first one was dropped short. Glasses one. It's 2 more scores. They maybe go ahead 6-4 at half time. Galway have to come out a small bit, and who knows the way it goes. I know for a finish, Galway won it by 6 points or so, but at the same time, if those scores go over in a really tight game, they're huge scores. They're like Glasses one is an absolute boomer if that's a score. First score of the game is a huge score in a defensive game. So I suppose the way it finished up, it was taken out of context. Audrey Lynch doesn't come out of his goals for Comer's second goal either, so it did put a bit of glass in the scoreline if the game is still tight at that stage. So I think they'll be disappointed with the chances they got that didn't take them, because normally they're very clinical and they're very smart in around that D,
Have to ask obviously as well. I think I was watching off the ball this morning, and a few people were saying about the goalkeepers coming out, and like you see Rory Began and Niall Morgan and the Derry keeper coming out the field, and obviously the Derry keeper kind of got the raw end of the stick there Saturday with Damien Comer, chipping in ahead of him. So what's the thoughts on the keepers venturing out?
Yeah, I'd be for it, to be honest. Like
Okay, yeah.
I would, because I see a lot of them coming out for opposition kickouts now. They're an extra man out the field, and I know the weekend Orton Lynch was cut out, but they were chasing the game. It wasn't Orton Lynch that Orton Lynch wasn't turned over. He didn't do anything silly. It was part of their game plan for him to come out, and it's been working quite well for them during the year. I mean, Orton Lynch comes out against Donegal, finds I think it's Benny Hearn with a 50-yard kick pass outside of the boot, and next thing he's in, and they get a goal and they win it 3-12-17. So, like, I don't remember anyone giving out then about goalkeepers coming out. So, listen, you can be cut out, but if it's part of the game plan and it's successful in more games than it's not, then I think it is the way forward. And for Orton Lynch this year, it definitely was.
Absolutely. I suppose, obviously, moving on to the big, massive game that took place on Sunday, the Dubs against Kerry. Obviously, Sean O'Shea kicking an absolute ridiculous score to win the game, 55 yards out, and what a way to get into an All-Ireland final, and incredible stuff.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, stuff you dream of as a kid, kicking into the hill to win the game, and unbelievable composure from Sean O'Shea. Great game. It was an epic, and I suppose everyone was waiting for that one all year, weren't they? But Dublin will be disappointed, I suppose. But at the same time, there's a good turnover of players there. They've, like, losing Conor Callaghan there is such a huge loss. I mean, he's still, I think he's 212. I think he's still the top scorer from playing championship.
Yeah.
And he's missed I think he missed one of the Leinster games. He's missed the quarterfinal and he's missed the semi-final, and he's still the top scorer in championship and play, which will tell you what a player he is. So he was a monumental loss to him, especially when they've lost a few guys over the past few years, huge leaders in their group. So if he's playing, you give them a right chance of beating Kerry. But I suppose Kerry have been building up for that one since early January this year. They were waiting for that game all year. They put out a very strong outfit against Limerick in the McGrath Cup, and that was the game they were building for. And in fairness to them, it's borne fruit now. A lot of those guys that played that first McGrath Cup early in the year against Limerick were tugged out in Croke Park the last day. So huge performance from him overall. I think Tyg Morley's added a huge dimension there to their game. He's dropping off and covering the full back line so well, and he's been outstanding this year, and he's probably been the difference in a lot of games, while obviously Clifford up front is just an amazing talent, and potential to be the best footballer we'll ever see. But Tyg Morley has definitely added a huge amount to the Kerry defence by the way he's playing this year.
Definitely. Obviously, from the Kerry end of things, obviously, if it's not this year, when will it be? I suppose, but obviously, David Clifford, left foot, right foot, he was just incredible again. And obviously, we were talking about Sean O'Shea at the start, but Kerry did look red hot, and obviously Dublin did work the way back into the game. And obviously, Ciarán Kilkenny, just what a player! He just keeps dragging them out of holes. But it was Kerry's day.
It was, for sure, and as you said, Kilkenny and McCarthy were there, and they gave everything to the cause. The way they battled, the scores they took under serious pressure, it was a credit to them. And when you think about the amount of All-Irelands these guys have and the motivation they have to come back every year and still strive for more, it's unbelievable, really. And I suppose that's why they're such a successful group when they have guys like that around. But agree, definitely, it was Kerry's day. I mean, the tide was kind of going against Dublin in the second half, and then Conor Costello scores that outstanding goal, but they had to try so hard to get back into the game, and it took so much energy, whereas Kerry seemed to be picking off their scores a lot easier. So, they just seemed to be facing an uphill battle once Kerry went in at half-time, a good few points up, but Evan coming for saving the penalty as well. Always give them a chance. If that goes in, I think Kerry see it home by a lot more than they ended up winning by. So, but listen, Dublin are such a quality side, and I'm sure they'll retain a lot of those players next year, so they'll always be knocking about. But great game for the championship, a lot of great games this year, and I'm sure the final will be no different.
Do you feel Kerry kind of have another few gears in them to go? Like, and obviously they just got over the line against Mayo. It was a poor game, and obviously that game at the weekend. So maybe do you feel it can maybe open up a bit more against Galway, or like will it be a cagey sort of final?
I think it will be very cagey. I think Paddy Telly coming to the Kerry setup, as I was saying there, the Tyg Morley dimension now is that a huge amount of their defensive play. Their wing forwards are coming very deep, and defensively they look so solid. Cormac Costello's goal was the first goal scored against them this year, I think. Outside of Darren McCurry's.
Yeah.
Dermot Curry as well, sorry, in the league. You know, 2 goals all year in how many games across league and championship is fierce impressive. So Galway similar enough. We played them in the league and very hard to break down, very good defensively, and obviously Cian O'Neill coming in there has added a lot to that. And him having coached Kerry before and Paddy Talley having coached Galway, I'm sure they'll be able to give good insights into both camps. But it'll be interesting, but I think it will be very cagey. I can see it going that way and possibly come down to the way the free takers perform.
Absolutely. Who would you be tipping for the final in 2 weeks' time?
I do think Kerry will win, but as I said, like Galway have a lot of big game players, Comer, Walsh, Paul Connery. They're big day players. They love Croke Park. They're well used to it, and if they get their tails up, they're going to be very hard to stop. But I just think Kerry have been building for this since early January, and you know, you keep Clifford fit, you keep Sean O'Shea fit, and even I'd include Morley in that with the role he's playing, because it's such a hard role to play. You drop off too early, centre forward gets a free shot at goal. You drop off too late, the fullback isn't protected. So listen, it'll be a close game. I do fancy Kerry to win it, but I suppose as a neutral, you're just hoping for a good final, similar to the Dublin Kerry game the weekend. It'd be great.
100%, and no doubt tickets are still flying about the place, and the scramble is very much on for the Dublin, or sorry, just so used to saying Dublin, Kerry and Galway All-Ireland final. But yourselves, obviously, were you happy with Clare's year's workout? And obviously, I know Derry did get over the line against us a few weeks, and probably a bit of an unforeseen result, and I think if you sort of played it again, it definitely wouldn't be as far away a margin. But we happy with Clare's input this year?
Yeah, overall we were, John. You know, getting to an All-Ireland quarter final, we weren't there since 2016, so we were a long time getting back there. And Clare had won a championship game in Croke Park in their history, and we were able to do that this year against Roscommon. So that was really good, a huge positive going forward. You can see some of the young fellas around the county. You know, I suppose they're dreaming now of playing for Clare. They've seen us in the telly. They've seen us win a game in Croke Park. Some of them were at the Meath game in Cusack Park. We hadn't beaten Meath in a number of years. They were a huge bogey team for us, and we got over the line in that game as well. So, yeah, very positive over year overall. But there was disappointments. Obviously, the Derry performance, not getting over the line against Limerick in the Munster Championship game, and then I suppose our kind of midway form through the league. As I said, we beat Offaly, drew at Cork, drew at Roscommon, and then we lost to Derry, Galway, and Meath. So now we did get a win at the end against Down, but those 3 losses kind of put a bit of dampener on the league. But overall, our championship campaign, we were relatively pleased with it, and hoping to get back there again next year, because it's absolutely brilliant to be in Croke Park and All-Ireland quarter-final day, to be that's where you want to be. Like when you start training November, December, you're not training to play 2 games and get knocked out of the championship and have your whole summer free. You're doing this because you want to be there with the elite, encouraging kids to play for Clare in the future, and just having them dream of playing in big days in Croke Park, because, as I said, that's where you want to be. That's the ultimate goal.
And do you feel you guys are kind of far away from Division 1 and obviously you've been consistently in Division 2 in the last couple of years, and you've held your own really well. So do you feel you're far away from the top bracket?
We just need to get a bit more consistent, John. I suppose, as I said, the first 3 games we'd relatively good performances and a decent 4 points across 3 games, but then to lose the following 3 then when it looked like promotion could be on. If we'd beaten Derry and Innis, I think we were a point down at half time. We were 6-5 down, and we ended up losing. We ended up losing comfortably enough, in fairness. So Derry turned us over fairly well that day. So yeah, I suppose that was disappointing, because the past 2 years we've been close. 2020, we lost Armagh on the final day, and we were lucky enough that Roscommon beat Cavan above in Cavan, because if they didn't, we were relegated. But if we had won that game, we were promoted. So that's how tight it was that year. So last year again, we were quite unlucky against Mayo. I think we lost 2-18 to 2-21 in Cusack Park. It was a great game, and if we'd won that again, we were in Division 1. So we have been close, but it's just to get more consistent, to ensure that when we're close to getting promoted in the second last day or the last day, that we're thereabouts. Whereas I suppose game 5 this year, once we lost to Galway, promotion was gone. So you want to be there game 6 and 7. You want to be in the mix. So that's what we've got to aim for now.
I suppose obviously the grow and the interest to play for the Clare footballers as well. Owen, obviously, they're unbelievably good at the hurling as well. So it's good to have such a kind of dual county at this stage.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose huge credit to Colin Collins there before he came in. Like, there was a lot of talk about 1992, I think 1997 they made the Munster final, the footballers, and I suppose it was a big thing of the past. The fact that the lads had won the Munster title in '92 and it was forgotten about, and our hurlers were always very competitive around the All Ireland series, so something had to change. And Colin coming in just brought so much drive, so much energy. He got the right people around him. He got the right players in. He communicated so well with players. Like, he couldn't treat players any better, any fairer. Unbelievable guy, and he is the reason why we are currently a dual county, and hopefully we will stay that way, because for a number of years we weren't. So it's a tough thing to do when, I suppose, hurling is our supporters and a lot of players who play both their first love. But we do love what we do. We love the guys who come to our game. Most Clare footballers know every supporter who go to all our games, and I suppose it's very personal that way. It's great to be a dual county at the moment, and long may it continue.
And can you see like the numbers growing, like going to the football games? It can obviously, you are a Division 2 team at the end of the day. You've held your own against some very, very good teams. So, like, over the years, have you been a bit disappointed with the crowds? Do you feel it's growing, or I suppose what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, it is growing, all right, and I suppose you can see when the hurlers are going well, it dwindles a small bit. I suppose the cost of going to games now and traveling to games is tough on people. There's no doubt about that. But we'll always have the same people at games. They'll always be heard no matter where they are, whether it's Crow Park or Cusack Park. So once you have that loyal cohort of supporters, you'll be doing okay. And once they bring kids from their areas where they're coming from, then you've a new crop of young fellas dreaming to play for Clare, and that's what it's all about. I was there as a young fella, going to games, wanted to play for Clare, dreaming of it, and lots of guys who are playing with Clare currently were the same. So that's what you're aiming to do. You're aiming to inspire the youth of today, and hoping that they'll get a step closer to being a Clare senior tomorrow.
Definitely. And obviously, were you impressed with the standard in Division 2 throughout the league campaign? Like, and obviously, like, I definitely classify ourselves as a Division 2 team when we're at full throttle, I suppose. Owen, but like, were you impressed overall with the Division 2 standard?
Yeah, it was, John. Yeah, and all the games are very competitive. I suppose that's the great thing about the divisions. We spoke about the Tatland Cup teams earlier, how the 16 teams all fancy the chance to win it, and same as the 8 teams in any division. So competitive. You look at the teams that are gone down in Division 1 this year, Clare and Dublin, like, two unbelievable teams. Clare were so competitive in the league, beat Dublin, drew with Kerry, had another good result, and still managed to go down. So, it's just the leagues are so competitive. The GAA have got a lot right with the leagues, and it's funny, I suppose it was talked about before the Tatland Cup was brought in, that do we switch the leagues to the summer months, because more games, best competition, and at the time I thought it was a very viable option, but now with the Tatland Cup in,
Whoa, that makes too much sense, Owen. Calm down. Settle yourself.
True. So it'll probably, the leagues will probably go to where the McGrath Cup is now and the McKenna Cup. So that's probably what will happen in the future. I know they are very competitive. Teams are so evenly matched. That's why it's brilliant when you're going out. When you're going out every day against whatever team you're playing, you have a serious chance if you perform. But also the level is so high. If you don't perform to a certain level, you're going to lose. Like, the teams are going to put you away by a few points if you're not at that level. So you've got to be at it week on week, and that's also the best thing about it. I remember with the old format, we lost when we lose the Munster Championship game. You could have 5 or 6 weeks to your next game. So it's a huge gap, and the ratio of training to games was very, very poor then. But now it's with the league, in fairness, especially, you lose a game, you're out the following week, or you're out 2 weeks' time. And similar to Championship, it is better. This year we had a month break, but it was okay because you knew you had a qualifier game in that month. But if it's no longer than a month, it's okay. But if it's 5 or 6 weeks, it drags on a bit, and it's the first week is always tough after you lose that provincial game because with the gap there, some guys might want to go away, or they might say, "Oh, can I play a few club games?" And I suppose then the quality of training session you have at the county mightn't be as good because you're on body. So the shortened gap to games is really good. And like, yeah, I suppose for people marking the game, they find it tough because there's no 3 or 4 weeks build up to the All-Ireland final. But for players and even going to games now, like you look at the All-Ireland semi-final last weekend, 2 weeks to the All-Ireland final, like it's brilliant. Hurling final this weekend, like it's week on week. You kind of know every weekend now when once the county season starts, there's going to be a game on somewhere. And listen, we all love GAA, we all love watching games, so that's what you want to see.
Exactly, and obviously, I suppose what's your thoughts on the Munster Championship? Obviously, and you were kind of saying the provincials, look, they are really dead. Maybe barring the Ulster Championship, which is definitely a cause and need for concern. And we did have the chance last October, November, and I don't know, did you catch any of the off the ball work with the Leinster councils and the Leinster councils and Ulster councils delegates, Eoin, and 1 step forward, 10 steps back sort of mentality.
Yeah.
But look, there's a serious need for change there, my man.
There is, John. Agreed. I was following it closely because we obviously had Podge Collins and Colm as well, who spoke very well on our side. Podge's interview on the off the ball is excellent. As a player, I suppose no one has any better insight than a guy in the thick of it. And I suppose everyone was hoping at the time that Proposal B would go through. The players voted for it overwhelmingly, and even the guys in off the ball spoke about it. I think everyone was happy with it. But again, as you said, it didn't make too much sense for it to go through, so it didn't get over the line, unfortunately.
But like it has to be the certain known, obviously, because the players are the product, and if it wasn't for you guys, there'd be nothing to talk about, so on and so forth. Like, so it does have to be kind of frustrating setting off, knowing that let's not beat around the bush. Kerry probably will win the Munster Championship next year.
It's frustrating from a player perspective, John, from the perspective that you're just playing the same teams all the time. Like as I was saying, that's the beauty of the league. You're playing different teams every year. 2 teams go up, 2 teams go down. Divisions are always changing. That's the beauty of it. You're going to different grounds, and it's hugely exciting as players. But you're playing the same teams every year. It gets monotonous enough. So it definitely needs a change. And listen, hopefully we'll see it in the next few years. But again, I wouldn't hold out on it.
Gotcha. It could be another couple of years. I don't know what's going to be. Knowing that obviously the game against Roscommon, to come back to beat all comebacks to Croke Park, a serious experience for yourself. So, it's hard to beat a big day out in the HQ. A great day for Clare football.
Yeah, savage, John. Like it really put the hair and the standing up in the back of all our necks. Like looking up in the Hogan stand, your family coming down. Obviously there was a game on after us, like unbelievable atmosphere. Like you could see the joy in people's faces. I remember speaking to my father after he was talking to David Tubridy's father, who played for Clare, been in Clare games as a supporter before he played, now supporting David, and he said there was tears in his eyes. Like, and when it means so much to someone like that, you can see the effect it has on people. And it was a savage day now, and it was a serious buzz out of it. We were going down. I suppose the journey from Croke Park to Ennis that night was very, very short. And I remember when we got to Ireland quarterfinals previously, in 2016, we beat Roscommon in Pearse Stadium, but we were out the following week against Kerry. So we had a bit of a break before the Derry game, so we were able to enjoy it that night, socialise as a team, and it's nice to celebrate those big wins, because if you can't celebrate those wins, I suppose you have to question why you put everything into it. You have to have some bit of enjoyment too. So we were able to celebrate it that night, and it was nice meeting people who had been up at the game, and who got huge enjoyment out of it. So that was a great moment for us, and one I'll always remember.
Absolutely. And could you see the comeback coming? Obviously, like, it was serious as all by yourselves, and you just went hammer and tongs at it. And obviously, Donny Smith came on, kicked some outrageous scores for Roscommon, looked home and dry, and you just pulled it out of the bag.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I suppose, like that, you build it up in the bank over the years. We never give up as a team. We were playing Tipperary in 18 in the league. I think we were 7 or 8 points down at half time. We came back to win the game and stayed up in the division that year, 2019, sorry. And I think when you build up that level of experience, just that level of effort that you're never beaten, just you give everything to the cause, and you know the players around you are going to do the same. You're going to battle away to the end, and some days it's not enough. But if you do that, you'll always give yourself a chance. And thankfully, the rub of the green came off for us. The ball broke the right way. Jamie kicked the super ball in, and it broke to Gavin, and we won a penalty, and then we kind of kicked on from there. But yeah, super win and hugely enjoyable on top of it.
Yeah, I suppose obviously you're kind of talking about them trainings in November, December, the slugs and everything goes with that. A warm summer's day in Croke Park, Owen, to get over a game like that, and obviously he's got to the All Ireland quarter final against Derry, but look, them kind of games to get over like the line in them, that makes it all worth the effort for.
Definitely, John. Yeah, and as I was saying, it's huge exposure for Clare football. You know, getting to an All Ireland quarter final, beating a county is a proud tradition like Roscommon, and similar enough to the Meath game. You know, Meath are a county with a number of All Ireland wins, and you know, it just entices young lads who are maybe thinking about playing hurling and are very good footballers, that, you know what, I might try my Latin with the footballers, because they can be a successful group, and you know, they're doing some good things. They're playing in Croke Park. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. And thankfully, we were able to get over the line in those two games. The one in Croke Park was especially brilliant, just because, listen, you grow up as a young fella wanting to win games in Croke Park, and sometimes you wondered as a Clare footballer, would you ever get the chance to play there? And fortunately enough, we've got to play there a few times over the past number of years. But to get a championship win there was absolutely massive for the group, and something that should stand us going forward.
Hopefully so. And I have to ask you obviously about Colin Collins. What a man, Eoin. He's just been an unbelievable influence on the Clare GAA setup completely and utterly, and like obviously the longest serving GAA manager about at the minute. So what a man.
Unbelievable, John. You couldn't say enough about Colin. Like, Colin is a real players manager. You know, he gets guys jobs. He just looks after them to no end. Someone wants some downtime, he'll give him some downtime. He knows every player and how to get the maximum out of each player. And I think that's what I've learned anyway, as maybe someone who may go into coach in the future, is that's the key to getting the optimum out of your team. Just knowing your players, knowing how to deal with your players, and then obviously getting a good structure in place, getting good people around you, getting good coaches in. But Colin is an amazing guy, and listen, it was funny. I was talking to Kevin Hartnett this year, and he was saying to me this. I was asking about, or sorry, it's actually a few years ago. I was asking about Colin and previous managers he'd worked under, because he played for Clare a number of years before Colin joined, and he said to me, it doesn't get any better than this. So for a man who's played for Clare for a number of years, I'll take his word for it, and hopefully Colin will stay next year and keep it going, because the journey itself is really enjoyable.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It'd be great to see. Longevity is so important in sport, to keep team together. Kind of reminds me of Mickey Graham and Cavan, just to keep the lads about. But yeah, like what it is about him, because obviously we hear so much kind of media work, and it doesn't really get involved in it himself. He probably just lets the players do the talking. But there's not many men, I suppose, like him around these days.
No, there's not. Like, he's a hugely charismatic guy, but at the same time, if you step out of line, you'll know about it with him. He's that nice mix where he's tough when he needs to be, but he's always fair. And when you're fair with every player, no one will have any complaints when they come away from a season and review it. So his man management is so good. It's really good. He just knows how to deal with each player. He knows how to command the dressing room. He's a really intelligent fella. He gets his message across really well. He's a clear idea of what way he wants his team to set up, and sets us up that way, and explains it well and breaks down for us. And you know, listen, I could be talking all night for positive things about Colm. So, but yeah, I'd say his greatest asset is definitely his man management. It's a skill which not every manager has, but Colm has it in spades, and it's the reason why he's such a successful manager.
Brilliant stuff. And I suppose last few, Eoin, like, what would be the the hopes and aspirations for next year?
Sure, listen, John, I suppose we've got an All-Ireland quarter-final now, so the aspiration next year is going to be to get back there again. For the league, obviously, I know it's an old cliche, but take every game as it comes. With the Tatling Cup coming into play last year and this year with the year just gone and next year as well, it's important that you finish in the top 6, or if you're relegated, then you're in the Tatling Cup and you have to get into a provincial final. So that's going to be, finishing that top 6 is going to be crucial to getting where we want to as a group next year. So if we want to be back in Croke Park, we've got to finish in that top 6. But take every game as it comes. I mean, Dublin in the group next year, Kildare, Louth, Limerick. So it's going to be a tough division. But we'll look forward to every game. We'll prepare well, and hopefully Colum's at the helm.
You're praying that he is, but it sounds of things. I think it'd be if someone else could come in, I think it'd break your hearts. It's funny, obviously Dublin Division 2 next year. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, if someone else comes in, you'll have to cut this part of the interview. Dublin. I suppose the fixtures aren't out yet, whether it's home or away, but sure, it's going to be very tough. They're an outstanding team. They showed it this year, whereas their league form wasn't as good as it was previous years. They still were a point away from getting to an All-Ireland final. So it's going to be hugely competitive. And I've never played against Dublin before. We played them in a challenge in 2015. They were doing a training camp in Doonbeg, but I suppose we've improved a lot since then, and obviously so have they. But we were only starting out in our journey then, so we'd a long road to make up in other counties. So it'll be something to look forward to. Listen, playing a team with the quality of Dublin and the medals they've won and the caliber there they have, that's where you want to be playing. You want to be in those top divisions, playing against the best players in the country. So it'll be good to have something to look forward to come the new year. So I'm sure it'll make us run off the turkey that bit earlier, having to face the Dubs.
Brilliant stuff. And I suppose generally, Eoin, you feel the game's in a good place. Obviously, we're coming away from suppose one good semi-final out of the two. Obviously, Kerry Dublin was a terrific game. Maybe the Derry goal we had a bit to desire for, but generally, are you happy with the way the game's moving at the minute?
Yeah, definitely, John. I think the only thing is maybe I think the mark is a good idea. I know it's not overly used, but I think it does encourage people to look for that kick pass inside, especially if you need a score. But you look at a sport like basketball there, small court, one referee there, and we have a huge pitch. Some of the fittest people in the country, high intensity game, huge crowds. Do we look at the option 2 referees? I would like to see a trial. I don't know. It was a trial years ago. It could have been trial in the league or something. But I would like to see a trial and see how it goes. Maybe in the summer months, I suppose even at club level, to trial it in, because it's very hard to trial it in the winter when the ball's slower, lads aren't as well conditioned. But like the speed of that Dublin Kerry game the last day, and I thought Paddy Nealon did an excellent job. Thought he was really good, in fairness, in his first All-Ireland semi-final as well. So it's very tough on referees like that to try and see everything, because it'll be reviewed in the Sunday game after and they'll say, oh, how didn't he see this? And he's one man in the middle of the field. There's 70 close to 80,000 there. He's trying to listen to his linesmen, he's trying to listen to his umpires.
Yeah.
I would like to see a second referee trials and just give him a bit of a dig out. I don't think it's needed for the club game because it's that bit slower, but definitely for the county game, they should look at it, maybe to trial it.
I think the Galway Armagh game, I think you could have had about 4 or 5 referees for that particular game, the way that was transpiring. But there you go. But no, that's a great shout with the 2 refs. And anything and all, any little changes, I think they're bringing a lot of changes that probably aren't needed. But I think when you weigh up the pros and cons. But last question, because I think you're absolutely mad to get watching Love Island now in a couple of minutes. Yourselves watching it for you. The players you would pay money to watch these days, who are we talking?
How many did I name? I could name a lot.
Go on ahead.
I suppose I've marked, funnily enough, I'll go defensively first. I marked a lot of really good guys, but I suppose the ones that stood out are Paddy Wallace or Paddy Durkin. Unbelievable footballer. You can't give him an inch. He'll step you out, he can kick scores, he can defend, he's quick. Hugely huge. He's a huge player for Mayo and always comes up with big scores for him. So he's a guy I definitely paying to watch. Mark Sean Powter, Sean Meehan, Ronan Wallace, all quality players, all really good defenders. From a forward perspective, then listen, you have to talk about Clifford. I mean, some of the scores he got the last day. I mean, rumor was that he was injured coming up to it, and obviously he looked to be limping against Mayo, but some of the scores he kicked off his right foot, left foot, yeah, unbelievable. Shane Walsh, obviously, if he gets open space, he's an unbelievable footballer, and one that you'd love to watch. I'm trying to think. There's so many. Like, I suppose you could go through it. You know, let me see. I'll give you two more. Keane O'Dea for us. Keane O'Dea, yeah. Keane's a guy who's very underrated, but he was watching. It was funny enough. He was watching a lot of American football 2 years ago, and I don't know if you watch it yourself, but is there this guy? He does this peanut punch or something? Is it or
right? I don't watch it, but yeah, okay, yeah.
But basically, someone has the ball in their hand like this, and he flicks it out here. But Keane obviously. He got a love for this guy anyway. I can't think of his name, but he really perfected it, that skill that I'd never seen before. And
right.
For the past 2-3 years, but very skillful guy. He's a lot of strings to his bows, can kick scores, and I suppose another player is. Let me see, Niall Murphy for Sligo.
Okay, he's retired now. Yeah,
is he?
He packed it in after the Cavan Sligo game. Yeah.
Go ahead. Jeez, I didn't know that.
I hope it's the right man. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Niall Murphy. Yeah.
Or no, that was what was his name? He was playing inside with Niall Murphy.
Oh God. The Sligo fans are going to kill us now. God, that's annoying now. Are you sure it wasn't Niall Murphy?
No, you're right, because now that you say it, I actually seen it. He's the guy who plays inside. He's a really good forward, serious ball winner. Himself and Murphy were their main two scorers this year, I think, outside of Patrick O'Connor as well.
Oh, God, that's going to annoy me now. He done an interview after the Cavan Sligo game as well. Jeez, that is a good one now. Oh, that's annoying me now. You shouldn't have said that.
Should have named someone else, yeah. But Darren Geller from Longford. I'd go for Darren as well. I played with Darren before in the Garda College. Super footballer, great fielder, and very underrated as well. But I'd go for Darren Geller as well, super footballer.
Brilliant stuff. I suppose we were kind of talking about any kind of changes to make maybe to the thought, but any other kind of changes that kind of come into your head, like, or if you're like, right, I'd love to see this brought in, like GAA as a whole, or are you happy enough with the product?
Happy enough, John. Like we were saying there, Tatton Cup has been a good change. Positive for the GAA, positive for every team competing in it. I think they've got a lot right with it. The All-Ireland series itself, like, it was funny this year. Like, a lot of people were giving out that our game was in moved to Croke Park, but funnily enough, if it was in Cusack Park or Galway, the same crew would have went it. So it wasn't as if it was stopping people going to Croke Park, it wasn't stopping people going to the game because the journey from Clare to Dublin. Like, I thought the GAA got a lot right here in that we don't often get an opportunity to play in Croke Park. It's a great chance at the double header, and Mayo and Clare was obviously on after it. But like, we'd have been punished for our lack of support by not getting in the National Stadium, even though our performances warranted us being there. So I was glad the GAA gave us that opportunity, because it would have been very easy for them to throw our game on in Pearse Stadium, but we don't often get the chance to play in Croke Park.
Yeah. No, because the week leading into your game, and obviously just everyone deserves to play in Croke Park, but a lot of people were kind of saying provincial grounds and this. But what was your thoughts, Lee? Like, you were buzzing to play in Croke Park?
Yeah, we were absolutely delighted. Like, as in, I know all the supporters, and anyone who's been supporting us all year went to that game in Croke Park, and the ones who give out weren't going to go to the game anyway. So, like, at the end of the day, and you said it earlier, like, players come first, and players want to play in Croke Park if it's feasible. Listen, we know if we're playing a first round game against Limerick, Tip, Waterford, Cork, Kerry, it's not going to be in Croke Park, and rightly so. But if it's the last 12 game, and if there's a game with it, like Mayo Clare, two huge supports, Roscommon have a big support, they might not put it on in Croke Park, and fair play to GA for that.
No, because I was thinking on the way into that game that like the provincial grounds probably would have suited, and then a lot of people were saying like obviously the crowds at the game, but you just didn't care. You were happy out.
Happy out to be in Croke Park.
Yeah. No, absolutely, 100%, and it was brilliant to see now, and it was good to kind of hear from a player's perspective, because obviously like all the media outlets are saying, "Oh, sure, why is it this and X, Y, and Z?" But I think we should have probably got more insight from the players. But that's brilliant stuff, my man. Well in time for Love Island now, so you're probably happy out.
Delighted, yeah. You can see all the controversy tonight.
Brilliant stuff, man. Eoin Cleary, thanks a million for joining me this week. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by Orgarech.com and Atak.ie. Use promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off Orgarech.com and get the best skins code scripting on Atak.ie. Be attack minded. Thanks a million, my man. I could have asked you loads more, but the clock absolutely ran on us. You're an absolute gentleman. Thanks a million.
Sound, John. Thanks for having me.